Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
'Tis the season for a number of book releases, and I have one for you, John Anthony. By the way, good morning. Amy Jacobson here. John Anthony in for Dan Proft, and we're waving around the Newsom Nightmare, because as you remember, or may recall, he was recalled in 2021, I believe, for a number of reasons why. And one man who ran against him in 2018, who was a gubernatorial candidate, was John Cox, and then he tried again in the runoff. And here's his ad to get to know a little bit about him. Get a big grizzly bear.
What's happened to California? What's happened to our grand state that for generations led the world in livability, in innovation, creativity, ingenuity? What's happened to our state that's forced millions to flee, when once it was the world's dream to live in our sunshine? What happened? Politics. We chose pretty over accomplished.
Pretty boy, pretty boy.
We chose beauty over brains. We chose to continue a political dynasty instead of saying, stop, this ain't working. We need to choose someone who can fix this place. John Cox was born with nothing, never knew his dad. His aunt was not Nancy Pelosi like Gavin. John did not grow up at the feet of the multi-billionaire Gettys. John Cox is like so many of us. He worked his way through college, became a CPA young, then a businessman. Started small, worked 24/7 to support his family, make something of his business. He started this campaign with his own money, trying to fix this place. He's run over and over because he knows the school of hard knocks he grew up around has given him the toughness and the skills to actually make a big difference.
No rosy promises. This will be tough. Take time. We have to do things so differently in every part of our state government. I'm a business guy running to make change. Great big ones.
That grizzly bear. With that, let's welcome to the program John Cox, former candidate for California governor and author of the new book, The Newsom Nightmare, The California Catastrophe, and How to Reform Our Broken System. Good morning, Mr. Cox. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, John.
Good morning, sir.
With you, boy, that brings back memories, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, before we get to the substance, that bear, it was like a 600-pound bear or 900-pound bear, and how did you get up? You were right next to it.
It was 1,000-foot bear, Amy, and it was 7 feet tall on its hind legs, and I had to actually kiss that bear during the commercial. It was a little bit disconcerting, I will say.
Well, I mean, you had to be trained, right? I mean,
it's a bear that's been in a bunch of commercials. It's been in TV shows. It was in Yellowstone, I think. So it's a performing bear that had been raised by a trainer since it was a little cub that was lost by its mother somehow. So
wow.
It was an experience. Let's put it that way.
Well, the other big bear is
Get
Gavin.
people's attention.
Yeah, well, you got people's attention, all right. Gavin Newsom, he's the big bear of lies. I mean, I'm sure you watched his debate against DeSantis, where I've never wanted to reach through the television and just shake somebody. He is so sleek and slimy with everything that he does, but there is a chance he could run for president in 2024, and if not then, for sure in 2028. So don't you think he'll bring the dysfunction of California to the entire nation if he's elected?
Well, absolutely, and that's what the book addresses. And, you're living the catastrophe in Illinois with a lousy school system, with high taxes, massive spending, as you just talked about, rising crime. In California, just multiply that because electricity costs 5 times in California what it does in Illinois. Housing is incredibly expensive when you can even find it. We've got water shortages, Amy, and all these problems are all government-caused and man-made, and Gavin doesn't care about them. What he cares about is abortion on demand everywhere, gun control, which certainly doesn't work because criminals don't care about gun laws. But these hot button issues are what the media wants to talk about generally because they agree with Gavin on those things. And this is what he'll bring to Washington, D.C., more dysfunction and failed policy. And I don't want to see it happen. I'm sure you don't either. It would be the same if Pritzker would be elected president. What we've got to do is we've got to reform our system, get the people more involved, get rid of these blow-dry, career-rich politicians, and get good policy that actually does things for people and not just take their money and continue the dysfunction. Can't keep doing the same things and expect a different result.
Well, what can we do? How can you change the system?
That's what the book addresses as well. And if people can learn about the reform I'm talking about, it's called hearthepeople.org. Hearthepeople.org. You know, listen, the dysfunction in Illinois and California is rooted in the same thing, Amy, and that is the power of the media and the power of special interest groups. And in both states, public sector unions, radical environmentalists, trial lawyers, big business types, big healthcare companies, all these concerns, all these interest groups basically funnel their money to these politicians and get what they want. And the rest of us suffer the consequences. Now, how do we resolve this? We get the people back involved. We reduce the size of campaigns so that their money and their manpower isn't needed. So the specific idea I have is for the U.S. Congress, Amy. We're going to subdivide every congressional district into 100 little tiny districts of 7,500 people each. In a district that tiny, money won't matter. You can go door to door. You can talk to people at their houses, at school, at church. You can actually talk to your representative and get to know them and get interested in politics again without the media being the go-between. What happens then is that the 100 people that are elected in these tiny little districts, they get together and select the congressman that goes to Washington. The other 99 stay home. They don't get paid. They don't have an office. They don't have a pension. And they keep in touch with their tiny little district and their constituents one by one.
So there's no campaign advertising or any of that?
No campaign advertising. You know, you'll look stupid. You'll look positively stupid buying television ads or social media ads to get to know people in a district that's only got a few thousand houses. You know, you'll look stupid. And you'll look like a climber. And you'll look like a career politician. What we need, Amy, is what our founders laid out in the Constitution, and that is a people's Congress where people represent people, where they get to know their constituents, where they actually are accountable to their constituents, where they actually can be questioned about policies, where they can actually respond to somebody who asks, well, why are we doing this? Why are we eliminating cash bail for hardened criminals? Why are we giving elementary school teachers tenure? Why are we putting up with lousy teachers that you can't fire? I think, Amy, if people can ask those questions and demand answers, we have a different political system and maybe we get some results that we could be proud of and that would advance the country.
Yeah, I'm sure he's insulated by the media in California the way Pritzker's insulated by the media here in some regards,
I'm
right?
sure.
You know what, John? I actually phone banked for you in your 2018 run, all the way here in Illinois. Yeah,
You did?
Yeah, he had some phone bankers here, making phone calls on his behalf when he ran.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, I can't imagine. You know, Obama brought the Chicago way to D.C. Can you imagine Gavin Newsom being president of the United States of America?
It makes me sick.
Bringing the California spending model to D.C. You talk about steroids, spending on steroids. I mean, we'll never have. We'll do continuing resolutions until in perpetuity because nobody will be willing to do a budget. But Help me understand this. I was told that in California you have to purchase electric cars by 2035 or something like that. Has that ever been done where you were forced to buy a product? And
The government makes you buy a product.
No, you actually have that wrong, John.
Okay.
And, what basically they've declared, which is almost the same thing, by the way, and that is that combustion cars, gasoline-powered cars, are not going to be able to be sold after 2035. So you're right in one sense. If you want a new car, you're going to be forced to buy an electric car. By the way, John, it's worse than that because this is a state that has decommissioned natural gas, hydropower, and other sources of energy. And every August, when it gets warm, and it does get warm in California, I assure you, we actually have to turn off. They actually want us to turn off our electric power because we just don't have enough to power air conditioning in August. And that's when electric cars only are about 10% of the number of cars in California. And we don't have the public transportation that you guys have in Illinois.
Right.
So I don't know what we're going to do when we get to 2035 and we've got to buy an electric car that you can't even plug in. And by the way, Joe Biden is the second coming of Jimmy Carter, right? I think we can agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, mortgage rates are high. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember our mortgage rate was 18%.
Rent is too
It's
damn
not as
high.
right. Well, it's not as high as it was back then, but I remember high inflation. That I remember we had American hostages, which we still have now, but they're not getting the same attention that the American hostages in Iran did. But yeah, it's the same. History is repeating itself.
And that would be in overdrive with Gavin Newsom because Gavin Newsom has learned the lesson that a lot of these politicians have, and that is go along with the media, do what they want, and also make sure you curry the favor of these other groups that will fund your campaigns and give you support door to door, like the radical environmentalists, the public sector unions, the trial lawyers, the healthcare companies, and Big Pharma. I mean, it's on both sides, by the way. It's Republicans and Democrats. There's just no question about that.
Yep.
And that's what we'll end up with. And I don't want to see this country get worse. That's my whole impetus in writing this book and talking about hearthepeople.org. And I would urge any of your listeners to go to hearthepeople.org, take a look at our video, take a look at our plan, and hopefully people will agree that this is just what we absolutely need to turn this country around and get some decent policies.
Yeah, and John, I'm glad you said that, turn this country around. California surprised us with a couple of congressional seats. Is the tide turning in California? Are the people so fed up now, and they're starting to see through the minutia, the lies of these leftists that have ruined that once great state? Is California making a turnaround? And if so, can we get some of that here in Illinois?
It is actually, I think, a little bit. Newsom's approval ratings are down, and part of it is that we're now turning a 68 or a surplus. He talked about a surplus during the recall campaign, by the way, which was an absolute lie. And now they're reporting a $68 billion deficit. The chickens have come home to roost, as Mr. Obama's favorite pastor would say. We've got a huge deficit. I suspect Illinois is probably on its way to that, and maybe that'll wake people up. I don't know. The reasons are the same, by the way. You guys talked about it earlier. People are leaving Illinois because of the spending and the taxes and the bad education and the high crime. The same thing is happening in California. It's very famous. It's been written about by so many people that people in California have just given up. So that's happening now in California. It's going to happen in Illinois, and I think it's going to happen in blue states all over the country, frankly.
All right. The book is The Newsom Nightmare, The California Catastrophe and How to Reform Our Broken System. And again, you could go to heartthepeople.org. That's HEART, thepeople.org for more information. John Cox.
That's Hear the People. That's Hear the People.
Hear the People. I'm sorry. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when I don't have my glasses. I'm so sorry, John. Here, but we love people, too. Hearthepeople.org. Hearthepeople.org. And thank you so much, John Cox, for coming on the program. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, John.
Take care.
Nice to be with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I want to tell you that Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift for someone you love. I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews. I love that they're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Well, Roland's Jewelers has a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? Listen, I've been a customer of Roland's Jewelers for a long time. You should too. They're so impressive. Their staff is expertly trained. I encourage you to visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this holiday, just like I